In order to get started, you're going to come down to this bottom toolbar where you see the circle. And you're going to click on the circle one time. Inside the box where it says type here to search, you're going to type the word paint. On my computer, I have two different applications that allow me to manipulate or design graphic design content. And the one that I'm looking for this lesson is up here on the top. It says Paint 3D. It almost has characteristics of a colorful drop of water that's going the opposite direction, or maybe a hot air balloon. But right here where it says Paint 3D, this is the one that I want you to click on. Click one time. After you click one time, the application will open on your screen. And for right now, I'm going to use new. At a later date, after you've had a chance to use the program before, you might be opening an existing project. But for me, I'm going to start with something that's new. So I'm going to click new one time. Whenever you start, you come onto a blank canvas. And you have a series of tools that are available over on this right toolbar over here. The purpose of this lesson is that I'm going to show you how to use the 3D library located right here. You can also add shapes, stickers, text, and other resources to something where you've started just to use the 3D library, but start to finish, my lesson today is just the 3D library. I'm going to click one time right here on the top toolbar where it says 3D library. When I do that, over here on the right-hand side, content begins to load. This gray bar will allow me to move up and down so I can see the different categories that are available to me. Or the other option is that I can type in a specific word. So if I want the word milk, I can type in milk and then press enter on my keyboard. So someone might drink milk from a mug. So here's a mug, here's another mug, here's a jug of milk. And you have all these different options that may or may not convey the idea of milk. Now, if you want a horse, type in horse and then press enter one time. And then you'll see things that may or may not impact or affect or have something to do with a horse. At first glance, you might think to yourself, how obscure that a carrot would show up. However, if you're going to feed a horse, then you're going to feed a horse a carrot. So this search box is intuitive enough to move beyond just horse itself and look for things that also impact, include, or have something to do with a horse in general. So I'm going to type in house. And it's not just a standard house. It could be a house that maybe a fairy lives in. It could be a one-story house or a two-story house. It could also be a lodging scenario for an animal. So a bird would live in a tree. So lots of different opportunities for you to find something that you might look for. Last thing I'm going to search for, just in this very beginning portion rather, is room. So to my room, I want to add people. I want a scenario where people can interact with one another. When I click one time on this room, this box will appear and the content will load. So now the object has appeared. At first glance, you might think to yourself, it doesn't look like it's resting on the ground. I would like it to rest on the ground. So you can click, leave your index finger down, and then slide down. It will pop into position unless you continue to force it down, and then it will move out of the area of visibility. Now, technically, you can still see it, but if I start clicking on here and adjusting it a little bit, a portion of the room is below your visibility. So I don't want it to go outside of my visibility. I want it to stay right here in front of me. And I'll explain what I did in just a little while over here, but not right now. My next objective, my next purpose is to make this item larger. Using this little box on the corner, I can click and then enlarge this room and then adjust it as I see fit. So these corners allow you to adjust the space that you're working with, the item that you're working with. And you have 1, 2, 3 ways to rotate this. By rotating this, it's going to stay flat on the ground, and then it's going to rotate left and right. So this is the tool that you would use in order to rotate the item left and right. This one is rotating this direction. So you essentially have the center, the side center, staying in position, and then you have the base and the top rotating. So click and then slide your mouse in order for it to rotate this direction. This one up here is going to cause the center to stay anchored into position, and then it's going to rotate around the center. The last moving tool over here is going to allow this to move forward and back or beyond this white wall. And you can see when your object engages that white wall and then it begins to disappear. So there are times where you want to move something to the back or you want it to move forward. When you have characters or trucks or other sorts of things inside of what you're working with, then those are the tools that might be important to you. Over here on the right hand side, you also have the ability to flip something. So you'll notice how there's a small wall on this side. Well, maybe you want the small wall to be on this side. Right over here, if you click this button right here, then you'll notice how that small wall is now on this side and that white box jumped. Let me click it again. And you'll see how it has flipped this object for us. You also have the ability to flip it upside down if that's important to you, which is this button right here. So this would duplicate. If you want a second one of the very same thing, it would make a copy, and then you can paste that copy. So now I have two of them. I don't need that one, so I can press backspace on my keyboard and it can disappear. Likewise, the trash can would move it as well. So moving on to the very next task. I want to add two characters. Maybe I want a table, a lamp, a couch. I want to accessorize the scene that I have. Let me click the 3D library right here one time. Then I'm going to see if I can accessorize this space. I'm not going to make it a kitchen. This would be a kitchen item. So that white chair would probably work, but let me see what my other accessory options are. I'll choose this couch. I'm going to wait for it to load. After it has loaded, then I want to position it into a spot that is helpful for the size of this space. And I can let go. I want to click this button right here, and then you'll see how I can move it more forward, or I can move it farther back. I don't want it to really go through the wall. That would not be helpful, but you can then adjust the couch where it needs to. 3D library, I'm going to add two people to this situation. I typed the word people into this space. I'm going to press enter on my keyboard. It's going to search through. Now, you have a vast array of different types of people and characters in this space. You'll notice how your imagination can go wild with a variety of different people. You also have just faces or a nose. I'm going to add this character down here. I'm going to put her feet on the ground. Maybe your character is capable of flying. So I want to take my character, I want her feet on the ground. I'm going to come over here to this button, and then I can scoot her to a position that works well for the narrative that I'm working with. I might want to rotate her because I want her to have a conversation with someone, or if she were on the couch and I wanted her to take a nap, I could also rotate her this direction as well. So you'll see how some of those earlier buttons that I modeled earlier are effective now. I actually have something to manipulate. I'm going to click right here on 3D library. I'm going to come back to people. I don't need to type anything because my last search was people. And then I'm going to click right here on this character. I'm going to size my character down just a little bit. When you are manipulating space, it is important to think about the limbs that might disappear in scenarios or situations like that. So just pay attention to that. I'm going to rotate this character around. Maybe these two characters are having a conversation. And then if I want to add a scenario or a situation, maybe this delightful little character has left some of her toys on the floor, and Dad is kindly reminding her that she has some responsibilities and should care for her toys. So I will search for toys. I'll click right here on one toy. I will resize it appropriately so that it is the size of a toy. I will set it here. I can go through and I can search for a couple extra toys as well. Or maybe you're using your imagination and she actually has a dinosaur for a brother. So you have a variety of different ways that you can organize this situation. And I mentioned the idea of a lamp earlier. I wonder if there's a piece of artwork I can put on the wall. So I'm going to click on 3D Library. I need to click inside the box, artwork. And maybe there's a painting of some kind that I can put on the wall. You'll have to take my word for it. I tried to get rid of that white spot on the wall and it was not very cooperative. That white spot stayed there even though I had it in just the right spot. So here's my piece of artwork on the wall. Maybe I want to copy and paste and I want to put a second piece of artwork on the wall. Maybe I want them next to each other. Maybe I want to readjust them. I used the shift button right there in order for both of these to adjust at the same time. So click on one, hold the shift button down on your keyboard, click on the second one. You'll notice how that large rectangle appeared around both images. And then this gives me the ability to adjust and resize two things at the same rate at the same time. So there are my two pieces of artwork. Team, the last piece of my small tutorial is going to be the process of explaining to you how to export this file. If your teacher has requested that you upload this to Google Classroom, you will need to know how to save that file. I'm going to come over here to where it says Menu. Over here on the left-hand side, I'm going to click Menu. I'm going to click Save As. When I click Save As, I want to save it as a 3D model. I want to save it as a 3D model so it can be viewed in other situations. Your teacher may ask you to do video on a later date, but for the purpose of this specific one, I will model how to do this. Listen to your teacher's leadership. If your teacher asks you to save it some other way, then pay attention to your teacher's leadership. Down here in this drop-down menu, if your teacher notifies you that your project will be uploaded to Miniverse because you're going to be working with merge cubes, the only file type that is acceptable is this middle one right here where it says .fbx. Listen to your teacher's leadership, determine exactly what file type is needed. But again, if you're working with the merge cubes, then FBX is the file type that is needed. Click on FBX. Put your name. So I'm going to say Jane Marie Smith as a sample student, followed by save. It doesn't take very long for this file to get saved to your computer. Now you can head into Google Classroom. You can open up that assignment and then you can upload your assignment to Google Classroom. Team, thank you so much for paying attention and have a great day.